Back here on CBS Sports HQ, and what a moment for Carson Beck and the Miami Hurricanes. Runs it in to win the game for the Canes, advancing to the national championship. Carson Beck just clutch in the fourth quarter. And look at his numbers here in a 3-year span. 37 wins, 37-5 in his career as an FBS starter. That's one fewer win than Kellen Moore had. I mean, this is incredible stuff what Carson Beck is accomplishing. He leaves Georgia for Miami, gets a lucrative NIL deal worth about $4 million, and it pays off for Miami as they are now one win away from winning their 6th national championship. Back out to Arizona, welcoming CBS Sports college football insider Brandon Marcello, who joins us from State Farm Stadium. Brandon, you watched that play out live. It was incredible. What did that moment mean for Carson Beck, running it in, game on the line, and wins it for Miami?
I think a weight lifted off his shoulders, to be quite honest. I talked to offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson right after the game here on the field, and he said it was a vindication moment for Carson Beck. He has faced so much criticism these last 2 years with Georgia, all the interceptions he threw his last year there, leaving the team before they played their bowl game in the playoffs last year when he was demoted to backup and had an injury as well. Decides to go to the NFL draft, right? But then pulls out and goes to Miami, gets a lucrative deal there, and has just come through in big moment after big moment for them here in the playoffs. And, you know, listen, he threw his first interception of the postseason tonight. And what did he do? He just bounced back once again and led this offense down the field. Shannon Dawson couldn't be happier for Carson Beck, saying that third down big route there near in the red zone was the big thing, because they kept feeling like we're going to have to kick a field goal and this thing's going to go to overtime. But instead, Carson Beck completes that pass and then has a guy wide open on the right side, but decides to run it in to the left himself to score the game-winning touchdown.
8 career fourth-quarter comebacks as a starter for Carson Beck, this one leading Miami to the national championship. When you look at Ole Miss, how much did the fact that Kewan Lacey got banged up in this game after his long touchdown run, 73 yards, a career long, he's out for the rest of the first half after that touchdown, and then they get him back, but it's almost too little too late. And I know they're in the game, but then having to go away from the run game, how much did that impact Ole Miss down the stretch?
I think it really helped Miami's case quite a bit, because I thought that the defensive line had finally kind of shown something there as far as getting bled out a little bit by Ole Miss's offensive line, especially between the guards and tackles. But the key here is that they put Kewan Lacey back in the second half, but he was mostly a decoy. They did a play action with him. They sent him out on a passing route. They didn't throw the ball really to him at all. But then finally in the fourth quarter, he finally touched the ball for the first time since that 73-yard touchdown. And it was, I wouldn't say too little too late, but at that point, Miami was able to kind of zero in on, well, that's your playmaker. If you're going to try and run the ball, we know he's hampered with the hamstring. You're not going to be as explosive. So we got to concentrate on these receivers. And I mean, listen, Miami still was able to come out and win this game despite getting a pass interference call there late. And then Ole Miss taking advantage and scored a touchdown to go ahead. But then Miami got a pass interference call of its own. Shannon Dawson, the OC, was telling me, he goes, I'm glad they finally called that, because Ole Miss was very handsy tonight.
Yeah, Miami's going to have to play much more disciplined in the national championship to win it all, because you cannot have 10 penalties for 74 yards against either Indiana or Oregon, a team that doesn't make mistakes. And that's been, unfortunately, for Miami, something that has unfortunately followed them for years. And you know the big moment with Mario Cristobal in 2023, didn't take a knee, ended up losing to Georgia Tech. What did this moment, what does this mean for Mario Cristobal? Because this is his alma mater, won 2 national championships as a player, and now has a chance to win a title as a coach.
Well, it's huge for him, obviously, but it's also, you talk about late game moments and all the meltdowns he's had in his career. He's won games late now in the playoffs twice. We saw it against Texas A&M the first round. We saw it here tonight. We talk about game management and how he deals with things. I thought he handled his timeouts very well there in the final minute and a half of the game. And as the offense was moving down the field, they didn't settle for getting in field goal range. They finally got in there and said, let's throw the ball. The field's tightened a little bit, and we've been struggling to score touchdowns once we get down there. Let's go ahead and throw the ball. We trust Carson Beck to do this and do it well. And also, I'll say I noticed this on the field. Right before that scoring play, I noticed that Mario Cristobal was talking with the offense, but he was only talking to the offensive line. especially on the left side, and that's where that play ended up going and developing. And as we know, Mario's a big guy. He loves the offensive line. It's a position meet right here. And they really just absolutely demolished Ole Miss up front all night. The time of possession was unwieldy. I could never see anything like it. And yet the Rebels were still in it, but Miami forced their will on them late and scored down the goal line.
Well, now he can officially celebrate because after Carson Beck ran it in, he told his player, get off me. Get away from me. Game's not over. There's still time on the clock. And he can celebrate now heading back to Miami. All right, hypothetical lines here, look-ahead lines for either matchup. Indiana would be a 5.5-point favorite against Miami in the Natty. Oregon would be a 2.5-point favorite against Miami in the national championship. Does Miami have a chance to beat either of those teams? What chance would you give them?
Well, it's in Coral Gables.
Yep.
So you're talking about maybe having a 3-point swing there. You're saying both teams are pretty much touchdown to a touchdown plus favorites against them on a neutral field. But I'm interested to see what the fan base really reacts this last week here going into that game, to see how it feels up there. The Indiana fans have been gobbling tickets up all the way down the stretch here. So I wonder how that'll be if they end up advancing. But as long as Miami's offensive line gets the push they've been getting all postseason, I like their chances of keeping the ball out of the hands of a Dante Moore at Oregon or Fernando Mendoza at Indiana. And for that matter, let's also remember this Miami defensive line didn't have its best game tonight. In fact, I think midway through the third quarter, you had Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain only had one combined quarterback pressure. So this was a game where a game ago, we saw all the sacks they were producing. They went penaltyless in that game as well, had 0 penalties, and then tonight they had 10. So Miami didn't play its best game, but they did play keep away long enough and then had the onions drive there by Carson Beck, the veteran quarterback, and that's why they brought him in to win those close games down the stretch.
Brandon Marcello with us from State Farm Stadium, giving us his perspective as Miami punches its ticket to the national championship. They're going to play at home on Monday, January 19th. Brandon, appreciate the time and the perspective here on CBS Sports HQ. Great to always talk with Brandon, and what a run for Carson Beck. First 3 quarters, leading his team to 17 points, but it was in the fourth quarter the difference. 8 of 13, 93 yards, 2 total touchdowns, the biggest one at the end, running it in with 24 seconds to play to win it for Miami.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
we're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
Find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.